All right, ready. I just made a beard video a couple days ago. And I talked about how I just had let it go for probably about 6 months. Didn't trim, only trimmed around the mustache, and probably for about 3 months, I hadn't trimmed the cheeks at all. And I like to do that every once in a while to then find out where my true line is. And over the years, my line has gotten higher and higher as I've allowed it to grow out, because the cheeks are always going to be your thinnest area. The closer you get to the jawline, it's going to get denser. So the further up it goes, it's going to typically be thinner, because most people, I have a theory about it. Some of it's genetics, but some of it is the fact that people don't ever allow it to grow in. They just see it as a weak area and they just continually shave it off. So if you can deal with the unkempt look for a while, it will benefit you in the long run. I don't have any real pictures to show you of like maybe 15 years ago, but you would be amazed at the difference of my beard since then. When I first started trying to grow a beard, I could barely grow a goatee, and it was like the line goatee. So it was like a little line here, came down. It wasn't all full. And then one day, probably around 30, something like that, I decided to just give the beard a try, because my dad always grew a really good beard during hunting season in wintertime. And I remember asking him, when was I going to get a good beard, Dad? And he goes, you just got to let it go. And now my beard actually eclipses my dad's, because I grow it all the time. He only usually grows it in the wintertime. So one of the things that's benefited me is just to let it go, just kind of let it see what it will do. And then I'll come back like 6 months, 3 to 4, 6 months, and I'll reevaluate. And I'll sometimes cut my shape back in, and then mess with the cheek lines to see how much higher they are now. As you can see, most people's typical beards, they'll start it at the edge of the lip and come up, and that's how I was doing it for the longest time. But my beard, as you can see, it's a pretty thick line now, above, probably about an inch above the edge of my mouth on both sides. If you saw the video from a couple days ago, I had hair probably up to about right here, and it was just kind of all over the place. In general, I like to have some kind of a shape to it so I don't look completely homeless, but at the same time, I don't want it to be this thin, manicured, like fake looking line. I want it to look as natural as possible without it being just completely crazy. And there is a fine line there. Some people can do just the crazy thing, and I can do it for about 3 months before those ones that are like out by themselves are like an inch long. And it just, to me, it starts to drive me crazy. They gotta kind of be generalized in an area. I can't stand when you have just random hairs everywhere. That's just me. If you can take it, awesome. I've evolved over the years. I've gone from nitpicking my beard to death to now I rarely even look at it, and I just reevaluate it at different times. Like the video I made the other day, I just kind of let it go. And I have a very kinky beard, and right now it's still very wet, and the beard butter is still wet, so my beard looks actually darker than it normally does right now because it's all wet, and it looks shorter because it's all compacted. So as my beard grows out, it starts to kind of go out away from my face and get kind of wispy all around, and I think it makes the beard look thinner, and I don't like that. So what I did, and this is typically what I do, is when it's dry and I think it's time for a trim, I will brush it down, and then I'll brush it out a little bit, and then I'll take, this is my head trimmer. I'll use this on my head. This is awesome. This is made by Remington. It has like a angled, it's not straight across, and this will not cut you. You can just kind of just go at it. You don't have to worry about it cutting your head. But I also use this to trim my beard. And what I do is any hairs that are sticking out that are just flyaways, I'll just kind of come down and around. And this takes a lot of practice, trust me. But as you get better at it, I don't go to get my beard trimmed by professionals anymore. I can't say I honestly ever did. I went one time and they butchered my beard. I mean, they cut it down to basically nothing. And they had no idea in their heads of what I wanted, even though I explained it to them. So I just find it's much better to do it myself. So again, I'll trim it to the sides and I'll start to taper it a little bit. I still want the thickness and I want the length down here, but when it starts to stick out from the sideburns, I will kind of taper it a little bit and then kind of bring it out. And then in the front, this is very important, when it starts to curl back over itself and get long, I'll find that spot where the denseness stops, and then I'll kind of come down at an angle. And underneath, very important, do not pull that hair down and try to get it to the same length as here, because the hair, at least for me under here, is very coarse and curly, and if I pull it down and cut it to length, it springs back up and then it leaves like a gap under there. So I don't touch this under here for the length. I'll go under it, and if anything's sticking down, I'll trim that out and I'll do it from the sides. So just give you an idea, I like a beard that's kind of blocky and then it's the same length kind of to the back. So I'm going to try to turn my head here. And you can see it's got a kind of a little wedge shape, which I like. It kind of comes down and tapers, but it's really far down, and then it's flat underneath. And like I said, I don't pull the hair down. I just kind of eyeball it with another mirror from the side in the mirror, and anything that's kind of sticking down. Now I could spend days doing that, and anytime I come back there could be more, but I'm just worried about that initial cut, and then you can just kind of use your beard balm to get it to lay down. So again, on this side, you can see it comes down, it's pretty straight across, and I just touch up anything that starts to become a flyaway. And for the mustache in the other video, I just said I cut literally just around the lip, and then I kind of let this grow in. I don't find it and then stop and then cut it, because then I feel like the mustache is outside of the beard. I like it to be part of the beard. So it does continue down into here. And I didn't get touch on this on the last video, but I think the weakest area for most people is in this general area right here. A lot of people don't have growth here, and the reason they don't have growth there is because it doesn't grow fast. It hits terminal length really quickly. Like this hair for me is only like 1 inch to 2 inches long, and I've never touched it. That's just as long as it grew, and it stopped. Some people, there's a rare few that will continue to grow, but in the vast majority of people, this area is weak. I just stopped touching it with a razor. And I mean, there's a couple, I still have hair everywhere, but it's thinner there. But since it's all grown in, it's filled in. But I don't ever touch that area. I will never touch that with a razor ever, because once it takes forever for that to grow in, and if you let it grow in, it will fill in. But once it's grown in, just leave it alone. Trim around it. Like obviously the hair on your chin and below is going to grow much longer. Your mustache will grow. Jawline will grow. Anything above that is going to grow slower and thinner. But I feel like I'm doing pretty good. This is probably about a 1/2 inch higher than the last time I trimmed in a line. And again, to go back to the beginning, I don't like a real manicured beard. I like it like some people start at the edge of their mouth and go and follow a line up. I like to go with wherever the denseness stops. And I don't mind that there's a little gap here. I mean, it looks kind of cool. And plus it just makes your beard look really full. And just I like a beard that looks big from the sides. So if you look at it from the sides, I like that it looks wide. It's not just this thin thing. And again, I don't trim any lines into the back. I talked about that in the last video. Just let that go. And really, just wait for it to dry. If you start to see any wispies from the sides, let it dry. Comb it your normal way into whatever shape you normally keep it. And I just lightly go around the outside and just hit those with it. And once you're done, just call it done. Don't come back the next day and try it again, because eventually you'll just whittle it away to nothing, because day by day it's going to look different. But as long as you get that shape back into it, like right now I have another good shape. It's not all, doesn't have a lot of flyaways, and I'll leave this alone for another 3 to 4 months before I come back and trim it in again. I'll leave my cheek line for a while. I'll stick with this for 3 to 4 months, and then I might let it go natural again. But if I go any higher, then I'm going to have my sideburns go higher. And I said in the last video, I don't like high sideburns. I feel like it looks like a fake beard since I have the shaved head. So that means I'd have to grow them higher to let this come in higher. And if it gets any higher, I start risking looking like a wolfman. So anyway, if you're watching, I appreciate it. Any questions, throw them in the comments below. And quickly before I leave you, I've talked about this company before, but you gotta love Duluth. These are the Duluth Untucked, like they call them the barbecue shirts. I also have, you can't really tell, let me see if I can come down. I have the Cargo Flex Fire Hose shorts on. They are awesome. The great thing about Duluth products are they are made for big people. They do have slim cut, but in general, like these have a gusset in the armpit and they have a gusset in the crotch. So I can actually move in these, as opposed to most shirts, as I lifted my arms, are going to, they feel like they're going to break. So these shirts, I can move around in them just enough, just to give you an idea. 5'9.5", 260. I've been as heavy as 280, but right now I'm about 260, and these are double XLs. And this is the Untucked, so you don't have to worry about tucking them in. And you've got plenty of room, and you just love life. I don't ever feel like I'm constricted anymore. And my shorts are 38s with a 9. You can get them in a 9-inch inseam, or 11, depending how tall you are. 9 if you're my height, which I consider myself not very tall. 11 would be probably for your over 6 foot tall people, but these fall right above the knee, which is cool. Plenty of pockets. They do have them in like a water wicking material, but the only thing I find in that case is I carry a ton of shit in my pockets, and like this is my Microtech OTF. This is a heavy knife, and when it's in a pair of like thin shorts, everything just kind of pulls down on them. Like I usually carry a pistol inside the waistband. I got my light, all kinds of shit. So I like something with a little heft to them, but not too much. Again, these are their fire hose, but they have some flex, so a little bit of whatever they put them to make them stretchy. But again, I'm not going to go on and on. Try not to ramble too much. And the taste of the day on the monster today is Ultra Peachy Keen. At Walmart, also known as Wally World, I can get these in, it's a box of 3. You get the whites, the peach, and then you get there's a strawberry, and they're all 0 calorie. Awesome. If you don't drink coffee, you need caffeine, or you do drink coffee but you like an energy drink, these are the way to go. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.